Hello everyone, I'm Amod and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to perform typing in Playwright. So when we have wave elements like a text box, text area, then we need to perform typing using our keyboard. And if you want to perform typing using Playwright, then Playwright provides a method called fill. So this fill method was added in version 1.14 and basically it sets a value to the input field, or we can say it performs typing. If you want to call this method, then on the locator or on the wave element you need to call this fill method, and this will accept the value whatever you want to insert or type into a text box. Let's see what are the arguments this fill method accepts. So first one is value, which is of type string, and this value is the value whatever you want to type into the text box. Then it takes one optional object where you can configure some values. So first key is force, which is a boolean value, and by default it is false. Now what is this keyword? So it says whether to bypass the actionability checks. What is actionability here? Let me click on this hyperlink and go to next tab. So it says Playwright performs a range of actionability checks on the elements before making actions. That means if Playwright wants to perform typing into a web element, then it will check some conditions. What are those conditions? So for every method, it has different set of pre-checks. So if you scroll down and go to locator.fill method, you can see we have few columns like visible, stable, receives events, enabled and editable. And for this locator.fill row, for visible it is yes, for enabled also it is yes, and for editable it is yes. So when you call this fill method, it will check these three things first, then only it will perform the action. This is called actionability. And you want, if before performing typing it should not be checked, then you can use this force keyword with the true value, because by default it is going to check for those conditions. Second one is no wait after it is deprecated, so leave it. And third one is timeout, which is of number type and default value is 0. So basically if you want to change or override the configure timeout, then you can use this keyword. Let's scroll down and then it gives some more information like fill method waits for accessibility checks, which is default. If you don't want to do this, then you need to pass force keyword with true value, focuses the elements and fills it, and triggers an input event after filling. This is very important line. So you must have noticed some wave elements where when you perform some action, so it will trigger some other actions as well. For example, if you have a text box which is accepting your date of birth, and you can see as soon as you enter your date of birth, it will give you like you are X years old. This is happening because as soon as you enter the value, one event will be triggered and that will call some function to calculate your age. So in Selenium WebDriver, you must have faced some situation where after performing typing using send keys, it is not calling the related action. But in Playwright, it is not possible because after performing typing, it will call input event. Input event is that something has been typed into the text box. So this really cool feature of Playwright here. Further, it says if the target element is not input, text area or content editable, then it is going to throw an error. So this is basics of fill method. Let's use it now. So I have created one simple HTML page with multiple text boxes. So I want to fill or type my name into the first text box. Let me quickly inspect this text box and see we have role as text box and we have name also. So we can use get by role locator here. So I have already basic test ready where I am loading my desired HTML page, and let me directly write await page.getByRole. Role is text box and I can use name, which is enter your name, and then I can call fill method to perform typing. So let me fill Amod. Let me run this program. So you can see browser is loaded and it has entered Amod in the first text box. Now, what will happen if I duplicate this statement and pass another value like Mahajan? Let me quickly run this test again and see what is happening this time. So you can see test is passed, and if you go to browser, you can see it has cleared Amod and entered the new text Mahajan. So by default, fill method will clear the existing value before entering the new one. But suppose you don't want to clear the old value, or you want to append the new value to the existing value. Then what are the options we have? So first option you might be thinking, get the existing value, then append the new value to the existing value and then pass everything here. That is one way. But we have a better way. Playwright provides another method called pressSequentially. That means instead of fill method here, I'm going to use pressSequentially method and I'll pass the same value. Now if I run program, let's see what happens. So you can see test is done and you go to browser, you can see pressSequentially method did not clear the previous value. It has appended into the existing value only. But what is this pressSequentially method? In which case we need to use this method instead of fill? One use case we have already seen just now. So official documentation of Playwright says about pressSequentially that in most cases, fill method will be sufficient, but you can use this method press sequentially if you want to press keys one by one. This method also focuses the element, then sends a key down, key press or input, and key up event for each character in the text. So if you want to type Amod, so first character is A. So for A, there will be three events basically. When you press the A, that will be key down, then A will be typed into the text box and then you need to release. So that will be key up. So key down, input event and key up event. Three events will be triggered for every character which is typed into the text box if you use this press sequentially method. And this is more like real time simulation. Fill method will type the whole string at once, but this press sequentially do one by one. So usage we have already seen. Let's see the arguments. So first one is text, which is of type string. This is the value whatever you want to type into a text box. Then it also accepts one optional object where you can pass some keys like delay. So this is the time to wait between key presses in milliseconds, default to 0. That means if you pass delay as 1 second, then for every character, it will wait 1 second before it is typed. So if you want to type Amod, then after typing A, it will wait for 1 second, then it will type M. Then again 1 second it will wait, then it will type O, like that. Second key is deprecated, so leave it. Then third one is timeout. This is the same thing whatever I explained for fill method. Let's see the use of delay. So for this press sequentially method, I want to pass an object and here I'll use delay and let me pass 1 second. Let me run the program and go to browser. So you can see it has typed M, then it is waiting for 1 second. So for every character, it is taking 1 second interval. That is use of delay key. What will happen if you call fill method or press sequentially method on a non-text box or text area element? So on this HTML web page, I have one button. So let me inspect this one and I can use this role as button. So let me use await, then page dot get by role, which is button. I have only one button, so I am not going to use name and I will directly call fill method and let me pass some value and I will comment the previous ones. Let's trigger the execution. So you can see it has not typed anything. And if you see the console, we have error. If you scroll up, it says locator.fill error, and element is not an input text area or content editable element, which is very clear that we cannot perform typing on a button. Then we have a call log which says waiting for this element, and it is even finding that because locate is correct. And then it is trying to perform typing. So before performing typing, it is checking for actionability, like waiting for element to be visible, enabled, and editable. Because we know that fill method will check for three things. Now, if I pass an object here, and here let me pass force as true. So by default it is false, and it's checking for all the conditions. So if I run this test now, I should not see this statement because it will be bypassed. Let me run and show you. So it's running and it will throw the error quickly. And if you scroll up, you can see it is attempting fill action, and we don't have any logger to check for the conditions which we seen previously. So you can see the uses of force as well. Now I have another text box which is disabled. Let's see what happens if we call fill method on a disabled text box. So let me copy the name which is disabled input, and here I can write await page dot get by role text box with name and call the fill method, pass the value. Now trigger the test. So you can see it is waiting to perform typing, and I have configured 15 seconds timeout. So it is going to wait for 15 seconds. So if you scroll up, we have a lot of log. So it is timeout error for locator.fill 15 second exceeded. So you can see it is trying to get the element and it is finding it here. Now it is trying to perform action, and before that it will check if the element is visible, enabled, and editable. But element is not enabled. So again auto retry will happen, and you can see retrying fill actions attempt 1. And once 15 seconds is reached, it will throw timeout error because it cannot type if the element is not enabled, which is expected. Now, if you don't want to wait for 15 seconds, this is too much, right? So here we can pass an object with timeout key, and maybe I can pass 3 seconds. So this time it should not wait for 15 seconds, and it will time out after 3 seconds itself. So let's trigger it. So you can see test is finished, and if you scroll up, you can see timeout after 3 seconds. Now the next scenario is I have one text box where we have maximum character limit. If you inspect this text box, we can see we have one attribute maximum length, which is 10. That means we cannot input more than 10 characters. If you perform 11th one, nothing will happen. It will be simply ignored. Let's see what happens with the fill method here. So I'll copy the name, and here I can use await page dot get by role text box with name, and let me call fill method, and I will pass longer value. Let's quickly run it. So test is passed, and if you go to browser, you can see it has typed only 10 characters. Remaining were ignored. So obviously it is not going to throw any error because in real time also if you try to enter more than 10, it will not give any error, but the typed characters will be ignored. The same thing is happening here also. Now let's see some tricky one. I have two calendars. For the first calendar, if you click on this calendar icon, you can select a value. If you inspect this calendar, then you can see we have rule as date and we have a name as well. Let's see if we can use fill method here. So I'm going to use await page dot get by role, and role is date and name is and it's called fill method. And the format it is taking month DDYYYY. So it will be 0618 and then 2025. But here we see some error. If you mouse over, it says argument of type date is not assignable to parameter of type alert dialog etc. So basically these are roles and date is not a standard area role. That's why Playwright does not support it. So if you get any element where role is date, you cannot use get by role locator there. So I'm going to use this ID value. So for that, I need to use locator and I can pass has and then ID value. So basically it is CSS selector. So I'm going to run the test, but we see error. And if you go to browser, it hasn't entered anything. Let's see console. So we see one error like malformed value. So I'm passing this value which is the same format which is expected here, but it is giving error. So why we're getting malformed value? Because of this type equal to date. So whenever you see a text box or calendar where type equal to date is present, then we need to use standard ISO format to pass the value, which is YYYY dash mm dash dd. It does not matter whatever you see here. So here to fix the test, I need to pass year, then dash month, then date. Now if I run this test, it will work perfectly fine. So test is passed, and if you go to browser, you can see it has entered the value and it is correct. And now we have another calendar which is basically a text box. You can see type is text and we have a placeholder which shows in which format you need to enter the date. And if you see accessibility tab, we have role as text box and we have a name also. So here you can use fill method with the date in this format. No need to provide any specific ISO date. You can give it a try. So that's all in this video. If you have any doubt, please comment on this video. If you really like my videos, please like, comment, subscribe and share with others. Thank you everyone.